Welcome back to 3D Dialogue. I'm Jesse Hirsh. The practice of Kabbalah has remained virtually unknown to humanity since it first appeared more than 4,000 years ago. This ancient form of Jewish mysticism has recently gained popularity and has even become a strong force in Hollywood, where it has been embraced by many of the town's rich and famous. But what is authentic Kabbalah, and how does it differ from what we see glamorized in Hollywood? Here to provide some insight into the practice and fundamental teachings of Kabbalah is Tony Kosinec, the Director of North America for B'nai Baruch Kabbalah Education and Research Institute. Thank you very much for coming in today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Why don't we start with not so much the origins of the Kabbalah, but really its situation both within Jewish culture and human culture?
Well, Kabbalah, as you said, is about 5,000 years old. It evolved at the same time that a certain property within the human being sort of leapt to the forefront. We started to develop what we call civilization, and that was just a kind of process of development of egoism. So everything that we've done, everything that we've created has been along the lines of the will to receive for ourselves, to satisfy a certain developing desire. Now, Kabbalah also evolved at that time as a kind of a counterbalance for that. And it was actually created by Abraham. And it predates religion. It's actually a science of how a person can, through transforming inner properties, inner states, come to be able to sense directly what the actual causal forces of nature are, and to be able to work in a kind of holistic way. Now, it's been hidden because we had no desire for it. We didn't have a need for it until we reached the end of a certain kind of development, and we're seeing that today. We're seeing a kind of science has sort of reached a dead end. We see all kinds of incredible social problems, national, international problems, and conflicts between religions. Right? Kabbalah is a science that can tell us how to live in this globalized situation that we're coming to. It's really about the laws of nature and how humanity can live within that. And it's a science of consciousness.
How does one study this particular science of consciousness?
Well, it has to be studied with, you have to learn it from a person who has attained this, because consciousness is not just, it's not ideas and philosophies.
Right.
It's, take for example, love your neighbor as yourself. This is the ultimate key to understanding all the laws of nature. We think it's like, be a nice guy, be a good citizen. No. The way we see others has got to do with our ability to perceive a greater reality, because we perceive beyond the subjective into the objective, which is bestowal.
And
so you
if I could understand, is it almost transcending the ego? Is that?
It makes, yes, it transcends it. It makes it irrelevant. It uses the ego in such a way that it becomes like the upper force, the causal levels of nature, which are pure altruism. Right? We're not going to be able to live in this globalized situation that we're coming to unless we become like that altruistic nature of the force that's guiding everything. It's the only way we can do that. So a person must first learn from somebody who has that attainment, who's learned it from a teaching tradition. And then they have to have the correct, authentic books, and they have to be doing it for the right purpose. They have to need it. Now,
when you say authentic books, is that an issue of translation or an issue of language?
No, it's an issue of the actual, what text you're working from. They have to be written by authentic Kabbalists who are already in that sort of causal level of awareness, and not books about Kabbalah. See, Kabbalah wants to take a person from their perception called this world, their limited egoistic perception, and raise them and all of humanity to a higher level. So Kabbalah is not about improving, getting a soulmate or getting rich or any. It's not about using the causal forces to increase your ego. It's to move a person to a level where they work for the benefit of the total of life. It's about the meaning and purpose of life.
Now, I mean, given that that is such a really large subject, it also strikes me that there's great opportunity for misperception and for misunderstanding.
Yes.
And obviously, as Kabbalah reaches pop culture, that would happen quite a bit. Maybe you could tell us a bit about these misperceptions or misunderstandings.
Okay, well, the major ones are that it's mysticism. It's not mysticism, it's a science. It's just how much do you understand about why something's happening or not, how much of it is revealed to you or not. It's not magic, it's not to use to get things for yourself. But basically, it's not somebody's fault if they don't understand it, because all of the books are written in what's called language of branches. You have to rise to the level of the books to understand that level of reality. So people can only do it according to what they need, because we only progress by an evolution of desire. So people can read these books and understand nothing. I mean, the Bible is actually a Kabbalistic book. It looks like it's talking about people traveling and families and all of this type of stuff and some kind of nation and so on. No, it's talking about the forces, the inner aspects of humanity that cause things to happen the way that they do. So you'll only understand it if you say, I'm not satisfied, I'm not getting an answer out of religion, I'm not getting an answer out of science. It can show me something mechanical, but it can't show me purpose. If your desire grows to the point where you say, I'm not seeing an answer in this world, and actually globally we're not now, that's why we're in the kind of problem we're in, then your desire supplies a place where you begin to understand what it's truly talking about your connection and your responsibility.
And is this what you meant earlier in terms of counterbalance, that really it plays a role in, I mean, you talked about the rise of civilization, and perhaps we've hit its peak, perhaps civilization has reached such a point that that counterbalance is really necessary. Is that why this interest has come about?
Exactly. It's because it's actually a force of nature about to take us to our next level of civilization. Our next level of civilization will be not by the ego, but by altruism. And you can see it on the internet. Wherever anything is completely interconnected, there's no private property. Right? Are people stealing music from the internet? No, I'm sorry. You turned it into something where it belongs to everyone.
Right.
That's where we're going. And we have to learn to live in that. And that's what we call spiritual.
So these models of altruism really are emerging, and it's a matter, I guess, of understanding them to not so much participate, but be one with them. Is that
That's right.
correct?
We just have to learn what the purpose and vector of our life is, and to be able to go. We're becoming adults now, right? We're going to live more like the forces of nature than we are like a bunch of people who just want things for themselves.
Well, thank you very much. Certainly this has been really an informative discussion in helping us perhaps understand the role Kabbalah has played and will play in our civilization. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Great questions.
That was Tony Kosinec, Director of North America for B'nai Baruch Kabbalah Education and Research Institute. When we return after the break, we'll tell you how to get in touch with us. You're watching 3D Dialogue.
This program is brought to you in part by Rogers Wireless and by the Toronto Blue Jays.